Let's talk about a book that's been a quiet powerhouse for decades. It came out way back in 1963. It's called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, and it has sold millions and millions of copies. Why? Because it makes a radical promise that you can completely transform your life, not through hustle and grind, but simply through your thoughts. So today, we're going to break down exactly what he was talking about.
I mean, it's a pretty wild question, right? Can you actually think yourself rich? It's really the core of Murphy's entire philosophy. And yeah, it sounds a little bit like magic, but before you write it off, you have to hear a real-world story that kind of puts this whole idea to the test. $112 million. Get this, that is the exact amount a single mother of 5 named Cynthia Stafford decided she was going to win in the California lottery. She'd been reading Joseph Murphy's books, and for 4 straight months, she wrote that number down, she meditated on it, and she just imagined, with every ounce of her being, what it would feel like to win. Well, in May 2007, it happened.
So, was that just a 1 in a billion stroke of luck? Well, according to Joseph Murphy, no. It was the result of tapping into this incredible hidden power that we all have. This isn't just about wishing on a star, it's about understanding the actual mechanics of how your mind works.
And listen to this quote from Murphy himself. It really shows you the sheer scale of what he believed was possible. He wasn't just talking about getting rich. He was convinced that this power could literally heal your body, fix your relationships, and completely change your circumstances. So the big question is, how?
Okay, so to explain this whole thing, Murphy came up with a simple but honestly a brilliant metaphor: the captain and the ship. And this is the absolute key to understanding the two very different parts of your mind and how they work together.
See, you've got 2 minds. First, there's your conscious mind. That's the one you're using right now to listen and think and reason. It's the logical part. But then, there's the subconscious. Think of it like a massive, powerful engine room. It's the deep, emotional part that holds all your core beliefs, your feelings, and all your ingrained habits. It's the part that pretty much runs you on autopilot.
And this is where that metaphor comes into play. Your conscious mind, that's the captain on the bridge of the ship. It gives the orders, it's rational. It's also what Murphy called the watchman at the gate, deciding which thoughts and ideas to let through. Your subconscious mind, that's the ship and the crew. It just obeys orders. It doesn't ask questions. It's totally emotional, and this is huge, it can't tell the difference between a good order and a bad one.
And this right here is the most important piece of the entire puzzle. Your subconscious mind takes your consistent thoughts as direct commands. It has no sense of humor, no irony, and no judgment. So if the captain is always up there on the bridge thinking, "I'm always broke," or "I never get a break," the crew down below just hears the order and works around the clock to steer the ship right towards that reality. It just executes the command.
Okay, so if our thoughts are the commands, how the heck do we start giving better ones? Well, Murphy didn't just leave us with the theory. He laid out some very specific techniques to start impressing your goals onto that powerful subconscious mind. First up is what he called the mental movie. This is pure visualization. You basically create a short, vivid mental scene of your goal already achieved, but the timing is everything. You do it right before you fall asleep and the second you wake up. Murphy said this is when the subconscious is most open to suggestion. And here's the secret sauce. You have to feel the emotions of it. The joy, the relief, the gratitude. That feeling is the fuel.
The second big one is the written statement, which, today we just call affirmations. The rule is you never write it as a future wish. So you don't write, "I hope to be wealthy." No, you write, "I am wealthy and abundant," as if it's already a fact. Then you read it out loud, again trying to generate that powerful feeling of belief and accomplishment as you say the words. So what's the point of all this? Well, the ultimate goal isn't just to mindlessly repeat some words. It's to fundamentally rewrite your deepest beliefs about yourself and the world. The theory goes that once you truly, deeply believe something is possible, your subconscious mind gets to work. It starts making you notice opportunities you would have missed before, and it guides you to act in ways that line up with that new reality.
But look, it's not always a walk in the park. Murphy was super clear that a lot of people try this and fail, and it's usually because they fall into these really common traps that end up sabotaging the whole process.
And this slide just lays them all out. Any kind of doubt or lack of confidence? That's a countercommand that cancels out your good one. Trying to force it with willpower? That just creates struggle and tells your subconscious that you don't really have it. Getting impatient? Holding on to old baggage. It all sends conflicting signals.
And a big one is imagining it in the future. Because if you do, that's exactly where it'll stay, always in the future. The real key is a relaxed, confident focus on one thing at a time with the feeling that it's already yours.
All right, let's pull back for a second. Was Joseph Murphy the first person to come up with these ideas? Oh, not by a long shot. He's actually a really important figure in a long tradition of this kind of thinking, and seeing the bigger picture helps us understand where this all comes from.
You can actually trace this all the way back to something called the New Thought movement in the 19th century. Then Murphy's book came along and became a cornerstone. In 2006, the whole thing exploded into pop culture with the movie The Secret. And now, well, it's been rebranded for TikTok with terms like manifesting and lucky girl syndrome. The packaging changes, but the core idea, it's exactly the same.
Now, even though Murphy's language was pretty spiritual, you can look at his ideas through a modern psychological lens. What he called miraculous healing, for example, sounds an awful lot like the well-documented placebo effect. Manifesting desires lines up really well with cognitive reframing, a key technique in cognitive behavioral therapy. And his idea of a connection to infinite intelligence, well, that works almost exactly like the psychological concept of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, but we have to talk about the other side of the coin here. Skeptics, quite rightly, will point out that there is zero empirical scientific evidence for some kind of universal law of attraction. And maybe the biggest criticism is the ugly flip side. If you get sick or if you fail, this philosophy implies that it's somehow your fault for not thinking the right thoughts, which can be a really toxic and harmful message.
Which leaves us with this one final and really fascinating question to think about. Is this power of the subconscious that Murphy described, is it some kind of mystical link to the universe, some cosmic ordering system? Or is it simply the most powerful, most untapped tool for persuasion we have, for convincing the single most important person in our lives, ourselves? The answer you choose might just shape your reality.